Hey everyone, so I've owned the Xperia M5 for about 2 weeks now and I felt it was a good time to do a review on it. Now on the left here is the Xperia Z3 Plus and on the right is the Xperia M5. And the reason I have both these phones up here is despite the Xperia Z3 Plus being Sony's latest flagship device, a high-end device, it is very similar overall to the Xperia M5, even though the M5 is supposed to be a mid-range device. Now Sony is touting the M5 as being a super mid-ranger, so in this review I'm determined if that's true. Now I'm going to start off by doing a general overview of the M5 and then followed by the things I dislike about it and the things I like about it. So starting with the general overview of the M5, it has a full HD 1080p screen display, it's 5 inches. It has a 64-bit 2 GHz MediaTek Helio X10 octa-core processor with 3 GB of RAM. It has a 21.5 megapixel rear-facing camera and it has a 13 megapixel front-facing camera. It has 16 gigabytes of internal storage with micro SD card support, a 2600 capacity battery, LED notification here in the top left, and the build quality overall is very similar to the Z3 Plus, although this does have plastic on the sides as opposed to metal on the sides of the Z3 Plus. It has stainless steel corners and the glass finishing on the back, and finally it is waterproof similar to the Xperia M4. So now for things I dislike about the Xperia M5. Now I did the Xperia Z5 Ultra review a couple weeks ago and I found it easier to come up with things I disliked about that phone. With the Xperia M5 there's really not that much I dislike about it, but there are certain things that aren't as good when you find high-end devices. So one of those is the microphone. The microphone on the M5 isn't bad, it's just definitely not as good as other phones like the Z3 Plus. So for example, if I'm outside recording a video and it's a little windy, it will pick up on the wind easier and the sound quality will be more muffled. Another thing that I don't like about the M5 is the speaker. So the M5 only has a single speaker at the bottom next to the micro USB port as compared to say the Z3 Plus where it has dual front facing speakers at the bottom and at the top. So I'll give you guys a sample of what this sounds like. Now the speaker is loud enough, it's just not as high quality. So the speaker on the M5 is actually louder on the Z3 Plus, but the quality definitely isn't as good. And also the issue more so is because it's only one at the bottom, say if you're holding it sideways, you're playing a game, it's easy to cover the speaker, whereas on the Z3 Plus it's really hard to do that with the dual front facing speakers. So just rounding this off, things I dislike about the phone, I'd say that some of the apps aren't that well optimized yet, like the Google Chrome app, and I think this is more an issue of the phone being really new. It just came out a couple weeks ago and it's not even available in that many regions yet, so I expect that Sony will be releasing a software patch correcting these issues shortly. And finally, the last thing I dislike about it is the price tag in some regions. Like say India, I know it's pretty expensive, but I bought it for just about $400, so I suggest that if it's expensive in your region, to look on eBay or other sources for a better price. So yeah, there's really not that much I dislike about the phone, and now I'll get into things I do like about it. So I'd say that the biggest selling point of the Xperia M5 is the cameras. So again, the Xperia M5 has a rear-facing 21.5 megapixel camera, which is more megapixels than the 20.7 on the Xperia Z3 Plus. And both of these cameras are excellent, you can't go wrong either way. You can shoot in 4K mode, but they do have advantages and disadvantages. So just for example, the Xperia M5, it has much better zoom, it has 5 times clear zoom, it has better autofocus, and I think it has better colors and details overall. Whereas with the Xperia Z3 Plus, it has better image stabilization, it has a better mic, and also it's better in low light situations. It has a higher ISO rating. The front-facing camera on the Xperia M5 I found to be very impressive. It's 13 megapixels, even more than the upcoming Z5, which is only 5 megapixels. You can shoot in 1080p mode and it has great colors and details as well. I also really enjoyed the screen on the Xperia M5. It's 1080p, 5 inches. It's using Sony's new Bravia engine too, and it has really good viewing angles and accurate colors. I also consider the battery on the M5 to be an advantage. I've done a full battery life test, so you can check it out. I'll put a link in the description to that video. But it's about on par with the Z3 Plus, and Sony says that you can get about 2 days battery out of this. I found that to be pretty accurate. On heavy usage, I get a minimum of a day out of it, so I don't think that you should have any problem getting at least 1 day of battery life out of the Xperia M5, probably 2 if you don't use it too heavily. So just rounding this off with other things I like about the Xperia M5, again, it is waterproof, it's IP68 certified, and it doesn't have a flap covering the micro USB port, which is a very nice feature. I've left it in water for about 20 minutes with no issues, and this is just a great feature because most phones now don't have waterproofing, especially mid-range devices. And just speaking of features that most phones don't have anymore, it also has micro SD card support, which I mentioned earlier, but it supports up to 200 gigabytes of storage, which is very impressive. And finally, the last thing I like about the Xperia M5 is the overall performance. It's very fast. I've had almost no issues with it. I've played some games at max settings like GTA San Andreas with no issues. And compared to the Z3 Plus, I'd say that it's a slight step below it, but overall it's very impressive. So overall, I say the Xperia M5 is an excellent mid-range phone, and it is close in quality to some high-end phones like the Xperia Z3 Plus. So just in terms of which is better, the Z3 Plus or the Xperia M5, well, I say it's definitely debatable. They're both very similar, they have advantages and disadvantages, but it really comes down to personal preference, what your favorite features in a phone are. So let's say you're like me and your favorite features are the front and rear facing camera. Well, then you'll probably prefer the Xperia M5. But if your favorite features are things like gaming and benchmarks, then you'll probably prefer the Xperia Z3 Plus. All in all, the Xperia M5 really has very little wrong with it, and I definitely recommend it if you can get it for a good price. Alright guys, so hopefully you found this review helpful, and if there's anything I didn't cover in this review you still have questions about, just let me know in the comments, and I'll try to either answer your questions directly or make a video about it. Alright guys, thanks for watching.